everybody. I'm not doing that. Turn over the reins.
Maybe. I didn't. Maybe here. I'm just gonna agree with whatever. I'll take the safer time. If that's what you feel, that's fine. I would have said that.
Yeah, 1 minute, Mayor.
Expose yourself.
Don't start early.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting, April 17th, 2018. Do we have a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance
Arbor Day proclamation. Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to read this proclamation in celebration of the upcoming Arbor Day. Whereas Arbor Day is celebrated throughout the world as a special event to promote the planting of trees, whereas trees can reduce the erosion of topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, reduce and clean stormwater runoff, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for construction, and fuel for our fireplaces. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business districts, and beautify our neighborhoods. Now therefore, I, Don Stilo, Mayor of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2018 to be Arbor Day in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to maintain and plant trees to promote the well-being of our future generations. I'd like to ask Pat Hauber to follow up with a few remarks.
Yeah, Wendy Sangster, our region's forester from the Department of Natural Conservation, usually comes here and makes this presentation. And but she couldn't make it, but she did drop off our awards, and she also dropped off 50 bald cypress trees, and we've got information about them, and they grow very tall. So they're large trees, but they're beautiful native trees. They grow well in this part of the Missouri. But she also gave our annual USA Tree City USA flag, which Kelly Votipka asked if she could fly underneath the American flag at the park, and of course she can. And we're going to give that to her. But traditionally, every year she gives us a lapel pin that says Tree City USA and a ball cap that says the same. And the tradition is we give it to the mayor.
Well, we might auction off the hat. I don't wear a hat. Thank you. Anything else?
Anybody know how many years consecutively have we been awarded this?
I think it's 21.
21.
21.
That's wonderful.
Okay, number 5. Number 5.
Approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting on April 4th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
An ordinance declaring the results of the city's general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 3rd, 2018. Bill number 7286, ordinance number 9083.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance declaring the results of the city general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 3rd, 2018.
I move that bill number 7286 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9083.
Second. Call the roll.
Councilmember Lodo?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
An ordinance declaring the results of the city general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 3rd, 2018.
7. Okay.
We'll now administer the oath of office to the council members that were elected. So if Rita Pierce, Valerie Pearman, Zachary Clevenger, and Fred Steffen would please come up here. You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I possess. All the qualifications. Of council member. As prescribed by law. That I will support. The Constitution of the United States. And of the state of Missouri. The provisions of all laws. Of this state. Affecting cities of this class. And the ordinances. Of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri. And will faithfully demean myself. So help me God. Congratulations.
Number 8.
Resolution of appreciation for council member Anita Lodahl.
If I may, sir, I'd like to read this resolution. Whereas Anita Lodahl has served the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and its citizens as a council member since April 2016. And whereas Anita Lodahl is a loyal and dedicated citizen of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri. And whereas Anita Lodahl has served the city's residents and businesses with dedication and professionalism since her election to the North Kansas City City Council, during which time she advanced the best interests of the city. And whereas Anita Lodahl has contributed freely of her time, energies, and abilities toward the promotion, growth, and development of the city, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of North Kansas City hereby gratefully records and extends its sincere appreciation to Anita Lodahl for her dedication and excellent service rendered to the city. And be it further resolved that this resolution of appreciation be part of the official records of the city, and a copy thereof, signed by the mayor, be presented to Anita Lodahl as an expression of appreciation for her and as a means of honoring her for her service to the community.
So moved.
Second. You have to recuse yourself. Sorry.
Now we'll go into a recess.
Okay, let's get this show on the road.
What I was gonna do.
Oh, comments from the public? Hearing none? Okay. Consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented to us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 17.
Selection of Mayor Pro Tem.
I can speak. So as the outgoing Mayor Pro Tem, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to be Mayor Pro Tem this last year. Very hard job, a lot of requirements and duties. Actually, I don't think I did anything other than just be available.
Great pay.
Great pay, yes. Same pay. But I would like to nominate Councilmember Zach Clevenger this year to be Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for taking care of those duties.
You're welcome, Mayor.
You do as
I'm there
well.
for you.
She keeps wondering if you ever got sick.
No, I told him to eat his Wheaties. I didn't.
Welcome, Rita.
Thank you.
Okay.
18,
Yeah. okay.
public hearing, proposed increase to sanitary sewer pollutant surcharge fees.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. At the city council work session on March 6th, staff discussed with the council a disparity between the sanitary sewer pollutant surcharge fees that are being charged to North Kansas City by Kansas City, Missouri, and staff's recommendation that the disparity be addressed by increasing the surcharge fees that North Kansas City charges to the contaminant contributing industries we have in town to more closely match the Kansas City fee to North Kansas City. The City Council instructed staff to provide notice of a public hearing on this date regarding a proposed increase in sanitary sewer pollutant surcharge fees, which we have done in accordance with law. And we've also made personal contact, our Public Works Director, Pat Hauber, has made personal contact with each of the industries that would be affected by the proposed increase, which are listed in the memo that's in your packet. In our memo on March 6th, staff recommended that to avoid excessive immediate costs to North Kansas City businesses that do pay the surcharge, that the city increase the pollutant surcharge rate to an amount that would split the difference between North Kansas City's current rates and the Kansas City, Missouri rates. The City Council instructed staff to indicate in the public hearing notice that the council would be considering rates that would match those currently being charged to North Kansas City by Kansas City, Missouri. So in other words, higher than we had recommended in our March memo. So the council now has the option of considering the rates that are indicated in that public hearing notice or rates that are lower, but not rates that are higher than was advertised in the public hearing notice. In the staff memo, we provide information about the estimated effects of the current rate, the staff proposed increased rate, and the increased rate that would match what North Kansas City pays Kansas City on the city's fund balance. And on the city's revenues from the sewer surcharges. Based on those estimates, we do continue to recommend a rate of 32.6 cents per pound for biochemical oxygen demand and 17.3 cents per pound for suspended solids. Staff recommends that the City Council conduct the public hearing. The city has received one communication on this matter from Ingredient Incorporated, which has been included in the materials that have been provided to you for this public hearing. After public comment and council discussion, staff would seek direction as to any changes that you would like to see made to the sewer pollutant surcharge fees, and then based on that direction, we'll bring forward an ordinance for your formal consideration at your next meeting on May 1st. So at this time, sir, I recommend that you open the public hearing and take any public comment there might be.
Comments from the public? We got to. Oh, we ought to open a public meeting now.
Mr. Mayor? Okay, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, my name is Gretchen Miller. I'm the plant manager at Ingredient Incorporated, and I'm here just to reiterate what I wrote in my letter to you dated March 22nd. We want you all to be aware of the potential impact this rate increase could have on our facility. Our plant is already at a disadvantage due to high regional costs of all our utilities needed to produce our products. Any increase affects our cost per pound and puts us at a disadvantage not only to our competitors, but also to our sister plants in the U.S. When decisions are made regarding future production increases, expansions, or plant closures, keeping the cost per pound competitive is critical. I know you are aware of the impact of Ingredient has on the local economy, and we understand the need to increase surcharges to maintain a balance in operating expenditures. We do not agree with an increase in rates that match the KCMO rates. The surcharges for TSS and BOD that Ingredient will be charged are not typically passed along to KCMO due to the dilution factor from NKC, North Kansas City. So we feel we are already picking up more than our fair share of the surcharges to KCMO. We do support the city staff proposal of splitting the difference between our current surcharges rates and the KCMO rates. Although these rates increases negatively affect our operating costs, they are still at a level that will allow us to be competitive within the industry as well as our sister plants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, would you be in favor of the staff proposed rate of .326
Yes.
and, of course, .173?
Am I good?
Thank you.
Rick?
I do have some, comments, perhaps some of your other plants are located in cities that have total control of the charges, and we don't. We're stuck when they tell us, you're gonna pay us more. Well, we gotta do it, and we cannot run a deficit in water and pollution control and water. We have to pass on and recoup. Now, some people say, well, you're charging more because it's to do it before it goes to Kansas City and all that. But we do have funds like the water fund and the wastewater fund. We do have to charge some more, to me, 'cause we do have to have a fund for when these things break down. Pipes do break, and we had to dig them up. So that's where the excess money goes. It's not like a profit to us. They go into a fund to repair damages over these old lines and stuff. And I always follow, well, I have always, I can't say I'll always do it, Eric, but I normally follow recommendation from the staff on things like this because they do a more in-depth study and then report to us. But I just want people to understand, we don't pass on charges, for the fun of it. A lot of things we pass on residential, we all pay it too. So I just want you to understand, this is not something, we don't consider the burden we put on companies, because we do appreciate your company and all the companies in our city. But we do have to have these utilities pay for themselves, in my opinion.
What did we have? Go ahead.
Rich Gross, North Kansas City Business Council. And I respect what you're saying, Councilman Stewart, but I do want to accentuate one of the things that Gretchen Miller mentioned is if it came to Ingredient having to make a choice of this plant or a sister plant in Indianapolis, we could be at a serious disadvantage, and that could mean no plant here, and I sure don't want that to ever happen. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we want what's fair for everyone. We want what's fair for the companies, we want fair for the residents, fair for the fund balance. So I've come around a little bit. Initially, I did say, without the supporting data, I did say bring it all the way up to Kansas City, but you can see with the rates here that there is some delusion potentially, going on here. So we do need to definitely take that into consideration. I did have some questions about how we build this, though. How do we currently measure what's coming out of the plants and facilities? Are they doing that themselves and reporting to us, or are we checking this?
Pat, would you speak to that, please?
We're talking about 10 industries that will be affected by this. Yeah. And we have WPC staff that take samples and test, and also the industries are required to provide their own testing as well.
Okay. Do we think there could potentially be any benefit? Right now, we consider normal waste to be anything over, normal waste up to 250 milligrams a liter. And that's what Kansas City charges. Would it ever make sense to consider raising what we consider sewage? Would that over 250, like go to 260, 270, start accounting for the dilution?
That's what we do. It starts at 250.
Ours starts at 250, but our Kansas City charge starts at 2. They charge at 250 above too. So would it ever make sense for us to go to 260, 270, 280 on their charge?
One thing that I point out is once it hits 1,000 pounds, it doubles. Their surcharge fee for that month, it doubles if they exceed that.
All right. Then do we get billed a surcharge for oil and grease from Kansas City as well?
We do, and that is not something that we measure for. So when we're setting these rates, we should factor that in terms of these rates because we do not pass on the
Or do you have a
OEC.
general idea what they bill us? Sorry, that was kind of,
I'm sorry, I don't have it on me. I
Okay.
can get that
I mean, is it,
information for you.
okay, that's
But
fine.
we do get a
Yeah,
charge for
all
oil
right.
and grease.
And then a couple other comments just on that. I mean, any other time I think we see increases from Kansas City, I think we should definitely, I mean, turn around as fast as possible, at least, look at it within a month or two. And then I'd also, if you don't mind, look at this again in maybe 3 months, see how it's, I mean, just take an overall look. No, I mean, not.
Sure, I don't know if
setting
3
rates, but-
months would tell us
Oh,
that
6
much,
months
but
then.
we'd be happy to,
Yeah.
we'll be looking at it. I think we definitely would agree that we should be keeping up with their increases, and not letting it go the way we did for a good number of years.
Yeah, because I
prior to
definitely, I mean,
tonight.
over the last, 3 months, in the whole $72,000. But I also don't think we should be, what is it, overcharging $424,000 either, so it's, find the balance in the middle, and that's all I got.
I make a recommendation, we accept the staff's
What?
recommendation.
We gotta,
You haven't closed the public hearing
Oh,
yet,
I'm
so I just
sorry.
probably want to make sure there aren't any other public
Oh.
yeah,
comments.
any other comments?
So at this time, sir, you should close the public hearing.
Okay, then we're gonna close the public hearing.
Now I recommend that we take the staff's recommendation for the charge.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All right, sir, so we will bring you an ordinance that formalizes that at your May 1st meeting.
All right. Okay, 19.
SCS Engineers, Task Order Number 4, Additional Environmental Oversight Services for Construction Activities in Armor Road Redevelopment Area, Resolution Number 18-025.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening. SCS Engineers has been providing us with environmental services for work that we've been doing in the Armor Road redevelopment area. And task order number 3, which you all approved last August, was for environmental field oversight and testing services, primarily on the east side of the site, around the old Habco property. When we prepared this task order last fall, we were anticipating 15 days of field oversight. And now that we're getting towards the end of that work, we've discovered that additional days of field oversight are needed, primarily because there's been more work done associated with the water line just to the south of Armor Road. It's taken up more time of SCS staff. So the change order before you tonight would provide for some additional days of field oversight work. At the end of March, we were up to 17 days and anticipated an additional 3 to 4 days of work were needed. We do have Doug Dreiling here from SCS Engineers if you have any questions about the work that they are doing, but we would recommend approval of this task order for the additional days to allow us to finish up this work.
You feel like you're getting what you need from them in this process?
They've been extremely helpful to us in this process, not just providing the field oversight work, which we need, but also just in answering questions and giving us advice and helping. They've been very helpful in getting our ducks in a row to prepare to remove this special waste off-site, which will be happening on Thursday if the weather is good.
So the estimated additional funding would be in the neighborhood of what, $10,110?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 20.
Acceptance of quitclaim deed, MoDOT right-of-way, Armor Road redevelopment area, Bill number 7285, ordinance number 9082.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on the City Councilor, Tom Barzee.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, good evening. Before you this evening is something that, if accepted, would amount to us increasing the Armor Road redevelopment area by a little over an acre, almost 50,000 square feet. This was previous MoDOT right-of-way, and on the cover of my memo, you see a drawing, and it's in that cross-hatched area that they are going to be transferring that to us. You'll also notice in that aerial photograph, and if you're aware of how things go into the current Railroad Avenue, there's 3 access points on the Armour Road right next to each other. Those will all go away as part of the work that we're doing, and the new entryway and exit, ingress, egress area will be further to the east. Most of this property will be, though not all, at least a good portion of this will end up being transferred to Casey Beaton Holding Company, the Burger King folks, when we finally close on that particular real estate transaction. So this is a quitclaim deed, like I say, from MoDOT to us. Now, one little thing I'm going to point out to you, probably in a few weeks, hopefully it'll be soon, but it's coming from MoDOT, so sometimes it takes a little bit longer because that's the department. All the property is owned, all the state highways and everything are owned by the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, which requires it all to go to Jeff City, all these things be approved, and then one of their commissioners. And as you'll notice, the deed is actually from the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. So we kind of work through the department to get there. What I'm going to let you know is they sent it to us, a copy of the deed, and we made our comments, but they had already sent it to the commission and they had already signed it before they gave it to us. So there's a right of entry that the city granted to MoDOT a number of years ago, and you're going to see another quitclaim deed coming from them to get rid of that right of entry. That clears that up off of the title policy, so when we transfer properties in the future, that won't be an issue. So I'm just kind of alerting you, don't think we're duplicating it when we come back. It's really for the sole purpose. The second part is getting rid of the right of entry that they have, one of them that they had here. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But there's no cost to the city for this other than our cost of doing engineering and surveying and things like that. But we're not writing a check to the highway and MHTC.
First reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving acceptance of conveyance from the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission regarding certain real property located generally adjacent to 2251 Armour Road in the Armour Road redevelopment area.
I move that bill number 7285 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9082.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance approving acceptance of conveyance from the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission regarding certain real property located generally adjacent to 2251 Armour Road in the Armour Road redevelopment area.
21.
Mutual aid agreement with Kansas City Fire Department, removing dispatching services from agreement. Bill number 7287, ordinance number 9084.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on the fire chief, Dave Hargis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. When we went to Kansas City Fire Department for dispatch last year, we had to sign a new mutual aid agreement with them, and that included them dispatching services for us. Now that we've moved back to North Kansas City Police Department, we'd like to maintain a mutual aid agreement with them, and this amendment removes all the dispatching language from that, and we just have what's the normal mutual aid agreement like we have with the other area departments. So that's what this is here for tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving and adopting amendment to agreement for fire service mutual aid between the City of Kansas City, Missouri and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7287 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9084.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance approving and adopting amendment to agreement for fire service mutual aid between the City of Kansas City, Missouri and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
22.
Renewal of contract with Westlaw for computer-assisted legal research. Resolution number 18-023.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on Mr. Barzee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, as you'll recall, pretty much every year this comes up. It's our contract. It's my access to laws throughout the country, as well as especially in the state of Missouri, both federal, state, cases, statutes, law review articles, et cetera, municipal code matters. And just so you know, my contract with the city requires the city to provide either Westlaw or LexisNexis. And I came from a law firm that had Westlaw, so what can I say? It's what I kind of grew up using, and that's what we have. It's, you know, I'm the only one that's allowed to use it, but from time to time, people will come and ask me a question that they need something, and I'll pull it up and give it to them. So it beats the days of when we used to have big law libraries and lots and lots and lots of books, and they were a lot more expensive to keep up than doing something like this. So that's what this is about. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yep.
Yeah, second.
Along.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Number 23, and I have the date wrong on the agenda. Approving accounts due and payable by the city through April 13th, 2018. Bill number 7288, ordinance number 9085.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 13th, 2018.
I move that bill number 7288 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9085.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 13th, 2018.
Mr. Eric?
Thanks, sir. First thing I'd like to see if we might be able to arrange something, or at least determine dates the council would be available. I've previously communicated with you about trying to get a strategic planning session scheduled. We last did one of these in February of 2016. City has typically done something like an all-day Friday session and a half-day Saturday session. About a day and a half seems to be a good amount of time to do some long-range thinking. And we wanted to wait until after the election to determine exactly who would be on the council at this point. But now, if we could, it'd be an opportune time to do it now that we have the new council in place, but before we have prepared the budget, because strategic planning decisions sometimes will affect your budget. So we thought we would try to aim for June if possible. Now, if we are able to come up with some dates, or perhaps in July if you weren't all available in June. Now, the next step, assuming we could do that, would be for us to put out an RFP for a consultant to assist us with the discussion, and scheduling would also depend in part upon their availability. But the first step I wanted to try to determine was if you would have some Fridays and Saturdays available in June, if we could. So perhaps, if I could, the easiest thing might be to determine dates when you aren't, somebody isn't available, because we certainly want all of council members to be there. So are there any dates in June that would not work for anyone that we could knock out of it, knock out of consideration? Yes, ma'am.
I can't do the first or the third weekend. The first, and
Okay,
then
so the first and
15th.
second are the 15th and 16th.
That's correct.
So that would leave, and I know, Mr. Long, you indicated June's not real good for you.
Yeah, I could potentially do the 29th, but that might, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Pierce.
I cannot do the weekend of the 8th and 9th. I'll be in training in Columbia.
Okay.
I could do the 29th.
How is the 29th and 30th looking for everybody?
Good for me.
Okay. So then we'll try to aim for that, if I'm not hearing anybody saying they wouldn't be present. And if this still works for you, this Friday, Saturday, then we'll plan accordingly, and that will allow us to get an RFP out tomorrow. So thank you for that. A few other things. First, I would note that the quarterly financial report of the city is in your packets, and our finance manager, Shirley Land, is here if you have any questions about that. Next, I'd like to call on Chief Hargis to provide a dispatch update.
Good evening. If everybody didn't notice from the change in our mutual aid agreement, we did switch back over to North Kansas City Police Department dispatch on April 5th. So all the transition's been made, all of our equipment's been reprogrammed, and all the dispatch calls are now coming through North Kansas City Police Department. It seems to be working okay at this point. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Are we going to be doing any timing like you did with the transition to Kansas City to show how long it's taking to get people dispatched?
Yes, we can. We're still having a little bit of issue with some of the CAD
yeah.
getting the data there, but we track that those times every
Okay,
month
yeah.
anyway. So I'll be glad to provide when we get everything back up and going some of those times back to the council if they wish.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I'd like to call on Ms. Copeland to provide a construction update.
Thank you. We've handed out tonight a letter that we put in the mail this afternoon to businesses and property owners in the immediate vicinity of Vernon, just north of Armour Road. We had a meeting with these businesses last March to discuss the construction that was upcoming at the time, and this is providing them with an update on the overall construction schedule that's happening along Vernon. In the immediate term, we will be having a temporary closure of Vernon just to the north of Armour Road that will impact the first driveways there along the street to allow our contractor to remove the median islands there where the right turn lane from westbound Armour Road turns onto Vernon. We were originally planning for them to do this work just with lane closures, but once they got in there and started the construction was imminent, they were very concerned about having enough room to safely do this work. So we're planning for this closure to happen next Friday, April 27th, starting at 7 p.m., and that street should reopen by 5 a.m. on Monday morning, April 30th. We've provided notice to the hospital, to our public safety personnel, and to Kansas City Fire, and people in the immediate vicinity will be getting this letter, and we will be doing additional communications to the community at large starting on Monday. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
If you live up on the hill, you can't come downtown.
Well, you can come down and turn on Taney, and that will get you around to Armour Road. So hopefully this is not too much of an inconvenience for most people traveling through the area.
Thanks, Sarah. Just like to note that we do have our annual community shred event this Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon. That'll be here at City Hall. It is free to both residents and businesses of North Kansas City and surrounding communities. We don't check IDs. We do have a 3-box per person limit, a box being your typical file type box. So that will be here for anybody who has shredding needs, again, 9 to 12 on Saturday. Would like to note, I know that at least a few of you are aware that we were having some concerns about this year's farmer's market. The vendor who'd been with the farmer's market for 10 years and had played a pivotal role in its operation indicated, because she helps running the SNAP, an EBT machine, more commonly known as food stamps, and distributing tokens. And she indicated that she would not, for family reasons, be able to do the market this year, and that was a critical loss. Rich Groves of the Business Council, along with the help of Patty Bartholomew Beef, who has been at the market for a couple of years, have found someone who we do believe can adequately serve in the position that the former vendor, Debbie Elrod, had. And so we were looking at having to cancel the market for this year, but we are planning to proceed with it. And the first farmer's market will be May 4th, Friday, May 4th. I still, we had been looking even before this mini crisis, had been looking at thinking about the farmer's market's future in general and what changes, if any, we ought to look at trying to make it more viable. And I still plan to do that. I still have a work session in your future, at which time we can talk about and other ideas for the farmer's market than what we have been doing for the last 10 years or so. The last thing, just wanted to ask the council, Tuesday, your first meeting in July is Tuesday, July 3rd. Does anybody have, just given the proximity to July 4th, does anybody have any concerns about having the meeting on that night? Do you have any concerns about conducting the meeting as usual on Tuesday, July 3rd, your first meeting in July?
Not the third.
Okay, so of course Wednesday is July 4th, but we'll just plan on holding the meeting as usual. And that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Am I up? Well, first of all, I'd like to say welcome to Councilmember Pierce. Thank you. And I said this to Councilmember Lodahl personally, but I have really appreciated working with her the last 2 years and really enjoyed her being a part of the council. So she did a great job, and I expect Councilmember Pierce will live up to those standards. The Parks and Rec building grand opening was terrific. That was great. The building was excellent. Thank you to Pat and to work with KCP&L for the light post at like 31st, 32nd, and Swift. I'm wondering if on that island we're going to put sod or something, if there's a plan for that. You can let me know later if you don't.
Yeah, staff and I just spoke about that problem. It looks terrible right now, and we're working on it.
Well, they're actually blooming. The weeds are blooming, so they don't look
bad.
too bad. But and then you were going to work on some concrete work maybe in our alley. So just, you said April sometime. So just let me know when you have a plan for that and what your plan is.
Will do.
Awesome. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Welcome, Rita, if I may say, call you Rita.
You may.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
council, and we're looking forward to you and your work as the coming years. If anybody hadn't tried that Bartholomew beef from the market, in my opinion, it's great stuff. You'll just love it if you go down there and buy some. A little bit expensive, but it's very good. That's all I have.
I also want to welcome Rita to the council and look forward to working with you. And I want to thank Valerie as her work as Mayor Pro Tem and Anita for her service that she gave to our city. She was a good city council person and enjoyed working with her as well. One other question that I had from a few residents is really appreciate the good pickups on the trash service that we've had. We have noticed, though, that it seems like the trash people leave the bins out in the, like where the sidewalk is, the city right-of-way sidewalk, instead of like putting them in the yard or in the sidewalk of the individual's house. I know that could be, just an obstruction on the sidewalk for people walking on the sidewalks. Pat, is there any way you could just remind them to kind of push them further in on the bins? They've been doing a good job on the pickups, just maybe pushing the bins in a little bit further.
Into the yards?
Yeah, into the yards or on the sidewalk of the house instead of the actual sidewalk where people walk down the street.
I can see about that.
Just ask them about it because several residents have noticed it. And I look forward to the farmer's market this year, and hopefully it'll continue to be a success. That's all I have.
Okay, let's say welcome to Rita, too. I won't forget that name. I'm telling Eric my sister's Rita, so I may not remember the last name. But, and I'd like to say I appreciate the way the codes people worked with the lady that house burned down back in December. They gave her time to find a contractor, which I think she thought the insurance company was going to do it to tear it down, but she had to do it. Anyway, it got done. Oh, it's down, and I guess a lot sodded because they put straw over the top of it. Did a good job, and she appreciates the help she got from the fire department and the city. I think Zach's right about the trash, and I'm not sure, you know, we're not allowed to leave them on the sidewalk till you picked up. We're not supposed to anyway. And they do, of course, they're better than they was. They was leave them on the street side of the curb. And that worked all right too, I guess, until the wind blew them down the middle of the street, you know, so. But they are doing a good job of picking up, a lot better than we were used to. It's that really a good open house down there at the parks, and there was a big birthday party down there Saturday, if you missed it.
Liz turned 80.
I wasn't gonna say she turned 80, but, yeah. But, it was fun, and it's really a nice building. That brings me to a question for Pat. Now, are we gonna get that thing dug up tomorrow?
They're scheduled to be out there tomorrow.
Okay, and I'm talking about the sewer line down there, so they had some problems with. Okay, I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Well, Rita, welcome to the city council. I just reiterate to everyone that there, Saturday from 9 to noon is the shred event right here at City Hall. And then at 2 o'clock that day, for those that are interested and have children, is the Major League Baseball pitch, hit, and run down at Mackin Park, and that starts at 2 o'clock. And there's a sign out there. I think it's 14 and under in age groups. That's about all I have tonight.
Just want to thank Public Works on their wonderful job of keeping the streets clean with all the snow we've been getting in April. I mean, who can believe that the last 2 Sundays we've had measurable snow in the city, and they're calling for maybe snow this Sunday too. So who knows? That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, really enjoyed the Parks and Rec grand opening. Pretty good. That was a really good turnout. Also, they had a pretty good turnout in their pickleball tournament this last weekend, surprisingly, considering the weather. They said they had 124 people sign up, a couple forfeits. Snowing and 30 degrees, you'd understand. So I want to welcome Councilmember Pierce to the council. Look forward to working with you in the near future. Also to all the other congratulations to all the other council members that got reelected this last round. And also, the city did win an innovation award from the Missouri Municipal League for the Armor Road pop-up parklet. Armor Road pop-up parklet. So congratulations to Sarah and everyone that helped with that.
Your turn, Rita.
Well, thank you for the warm and the lovely welcome. I look forward to learning a lot. I'm very excited that I was elected. Many things to learn about. I've already had a couple of questions, which I sent to Eric, and he responded right away. Looking forward to working with Brian. Thank goodness he's been here for a year. I'm going to rely on him a lot in our ward. And looking forward to this next 2 years. Thank you.
I might point out that you're not last just because you're new. I mean, we rotate, so now, I mean, it moved down the line.
Oh yeah, and I'm no longer the new guy.
You still are the new guy.
Okay, well, I think everything's been said, so move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?